It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
No, they want to see me doing bad, but I'm good.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave in the 702 coming at you solo from my studios in Las Vegas, Nevada for another episode of the Shoe Shine. No, Drew Evil will not be joining me tonight. It's solo for me, guys. Drew's been working his ass off. You guys know. Shout out to all the Eagles fans out there. Fly Eagles, of course. It was an incredible weekend of football. Playoff football was absolutely incredible. Shout out to everybody joining me in the chat really quickly. I already see, hey, shout out to Jimenez Video Productions, Raiders. Obviously, for all of our teams that are not in it, you know, we're looking to rebuild, and there's some exciting stuff probably going on. I know the Niners are trying to get that player you guys got. Lots of news to cover. I would love to talk about football today, too. The NFC Championship game. Eagles. Wow, what an incredible game. And you guys know that as a Niners fan, I absolutely cannot be rooting for the Rams at any moment, ever. So shout out to my co-host Drew and his Eagles, who just, wow, what a nail biter, 13 points ahead, and the Rams almost came back in the snow. And Chiefs fans, yo, Chiefs fans, what is up with oh my God, I don't even want to get into that. I do see, I did set up my phone line, so I'm going to be getting into that in just a moment. Might as well let you guys know I am going to be doing the show solo. I do have the phone line up. So I'm going to go ahead and take this call. We're going to do the Shoe Shine. We're going to talk about some boxing this week. Inoue, pound for pound champion from Japan, is fighting a last minute replacement on Friday. If you're a super hardcore fan, you're going to be watching that 3 a.m. potentially on the West Coast. Saturday night, I'll be at the Cosmopolitan to watch Diego Pacheco, super middleweight contender, with my gang, with my homies, Fonzie. Shout out to you if you join me in the 619. And I'm going to take this call right now. Of course, we got boxing. We also got pro boxing. Let me take this one real quick. 925, you're on the Shoe Shine.
Yeah, you know who it is.
What's good, everybody? It's my boy Lukie Boxing. But man, if you guys do not read Boxing Scene and you're a hardcore boxing fan, what is wrong with you? We got Lucas Cattell of Boxing Scene on the phone. Glad to have you, Lukie. Big week ahead now for boxing fans. We've got action on Friday. We got Inoue, the return, finding a last-minute replacement. We got Pro Box, which you write wonderful stuff for. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about that. And again, of course, we have some announcements I heard from Matchroom potentially with Philadelphia fighter. What is it? Stanionis potentially. We're going to be hearing some words about Stanionis and Boots Ennis on Friday. And of course, the main event Saturday in Las Vegas that I'll be at. Good to have you on the phone, Lukie. What's on your mind this week? What's going on as a writer for the Boxing Writers Association of America? What is on your mind?
Well, I'm going to be at my first fight of the year. So if someone wants to see me really tired and grumpy and disgruntled, you can get that privilege. I will be at the Commerce Casino watching the Golden Boy fights on Thursday, and I'll be there Wednesday. So that's exciting, right? So you can see a bald middle-aged man in person. You just ask me questions, and I'll give you my perspectives. I feel like I'm so jaded and burnt out that I don't come with questions very well.
I didn't even know that. Obviously, there's some major news that I have to talk about that I want to get to and get your insight on the major news. We'll get to that. But who's fighting on this Golden Boy card, and where can people see this? Will this be available on YouTube?
So I believe it's going to be on YouTube, but it's also on DAZN. It's a really good main event between Eric Priest, who's trained by Julian Choa, and Tyler Howard, who's trained by Bobby Benton, two really good trainers. Co-features Jordan Panthen. And then there's a really good junior middleweight on the undercard, Grant Flores, someone that I'm really high on. And then a fighter that I've been wanting to see in person for a really long time. I wrote a feature on him before he turned pro, Jordan Fuentes. So there's a lot of my guys on the card. And it's kind of cards that I end up going to, right? It's the really talented fighters before they were stars type cards. So pretty excited to be there.
Now, I've been keeping my eye on this young gentleman, Eric Priest. He looks like is he the middleweight?
He's a middleweight. He is.
Yeah, he looks pretty tremendous right now. He's still, you would still categorize him at, well, he's going to be headlining this card, but how soon before he's looked at as a contender, because the middleweight division's kind of weak right now?
Well, this is a big fight because Herc Howard used to be signed with Top Rank. He gave Troy Isley an honest fight. He didn't really step on the gas until late in the fight, and he kind of had a little bit of success late in the fight. I mean, this is a fight to me, and maybe I look at things differently. Maybe I don't look at things differently. Who knows what? In the chat, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff, and interact and let me know if I sound like I make sense. The big thing with Howard is sometimes he doesn't let his hands go. The thing with Priest is he has a very good trainer, but Priest to me at times sometimes looks like an athlete who's like learning how to do the high level boxing. So I think it's an interesting test for both guys, because Howard to me feels like a guy who kind of shouldn't be in the role of a gatekeeper, but is falling into that role. And Priest has a lot of potential, but he also, in my opinion, has to fine tune some stuff before he gets to the next level. So I'd categorize this as like a 50-50 prove it fight, kind of for both guys.
Right. And again, is this one going to be available, you think, on Golden Boy's YouTube channel?
I can't confirm nor deny, but check their YouTube channel. If you don't have the YouTube channel, it for sure will be on DAZN. It'll be on their thing, and it's at the Commerce Casino. Tickets are available wherever you get them and stuff.
That's really exciting. Guys, we do have a lot of news to go over. I'm so glad I've got Lukie today. Drew's out. He's been working nonstop with all these snowstorms in Philly. But there's some huge news. But today is a historic day. And Lukie, I'd like to bring up with something before we move on to the news, because obviously we've got some pro box and you got some great insight. Najee Lopez is a guy I'm very excited about. Then we've got the Inoue fight on Friday in the morning, wee hours for us here in America. And then, of course, we've got some action on DAZN and Matchroom Boxing, as well as all the Turkey al-Sheikh news, huge news. The thumbnail said it all. But let's go back 24 years today, if you don't mind joining me. Going back 24 years, oh man, I was just a young guy in my 20s, and I really had, that's actually when I started to take up boxing pretty serious after having a Muay Thai box in the Bay Area. Lukie, you and I both Bay Area guys. We've talked about that privately off the air, but 24 years ago today at the MGM Grand, guys, is the 24-year anniversary of one of my favorite fighters from Sacramento, Diego Corrales, fighting Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather. God, I got a clip here. Let me play a little bit of clip of this highlight, Lukie, and then you can chime in. Shout out to everybody joining us. I appreciate. Yeah, shout out to Follow the Rabbit. I appreciate you, SB, in the chat. Let's go back 24 years for you boxing aficionados. How good was Pretty Boy Floyd, Lukie? Was he not fucking incredible at that time? Here's a clip.
Spoke to both fighters in the dressing room. I obey my commands at all times. Shake hands, good luck.
Fighter gains 16 pounds, like that. Corrupt. Body shot around the ring like that. Moves his whole body. Remember, it's always in out of it himself.
This was for the 130-pound WBC championship. Floyd Mayweather was defending his title. Corrales had been the IBF champion. He had to drop the belt. You remember that, Lukie? He had to drop the belt, or he went into litigation afterwards. But he did end up getting into this fight, coming in 2 pounds overweight, having this to basically melt down the last 2 pounds in a sauna on weigh-in date. Lukie, was Diego inefficient at 130? He was already on his way out of the division, right? The IBF had stripped him of that title.
Yeah, I mean that's from before I was like a reporter. So that's more when I was just enjoying it. Even like I was looking back even 10 years ago, I wasn't like a serious guy. And I'll look back and I'll go, man, some of the stuff, like I just didn't know the details. Whereas now it's like I look at it and I just feel like I know a lot of the situation. And everyone's here is saying, why are you even saying that? Well, I'm saying that because at the time it was the fight. It was the fighters and it was the characters that were relevant. And I've never been a big sanctioning body guy. I got to tell on myself in that regard. And for the love of anything, I've always looked at the relevant fighters, and the belts were secondary. And I think more so with Floyd than any fighter. When Floyd fought, I never really cared about titles because, especially in the second half of his career, can you remember what fights were for titles and which ones weren't?
Nah.
Very confusing. So
right. And if you guys are following along, I appreciate everybody that's just joined us, guys. We're looking back 24 years ago at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. 24 years ago, Pretty Boy Floyd, then known as Pretty Boy Floyd, not Money, knocked down Diego Corrales out of Sacramento. He was one of my favorite fighters at the time. And Floyd had a way of making excellent fighters, champions, look average. He just made them, it was apparent that Floyd was on another level. And for the first time in the career, Diego Corrales, in that 7th round, I believe, he was knocked down not once, not twice, but 3 times, most of them coming from a left hook. He had already been fatigued from Floyd's vicious body to head combinations. And it reminds me a lot of the guy who we have on the thumbnail tonight, Ryan Garcia, who, some people will say has the fastest left hook in all of boxing today. Floyd's left hook was unbelievably fast. Diego Corrales had never touched the canvas in his career. And on this night, 24 years ago, he was knocked down a total of 5 times. Lukie, how many times do you think Devin Haney was dropped technically? Now, it wasn't and unofficially by Ryan Garcia in their fight.
how many times did Ryan Garcia drop Devin Haney in the fight?
Yeah.
Trivia question?
Yeah, no, I'm asking you.
3 times, I believe.
Some people think a couple of them weren't counted, right? I mean, it could have potentially been.
But I mean, that's like saying like the JFK assassination and that's conspiracy. I'm facts. So there were 3 counted drops. Now, if we're boxing coaches and boxing guys, which is what the show is, Devin appeared to be rattled by shots and went down, but you just got it when it's not called. It's like, what was the game with the Chiefs this weekend? Chiefs-Texans. There were some bad calls in the game, right? But those bad calls didn't decide the game. The Texans also didn't step up and make plays. So I get where people go, oh, there should have been one more knockdown. In the end, Devin also fought a great fight getting knocked down. And a lot of times people, I don't know, people like to be contrarian. People like to be the smartest guy in the room. And I think that's what those kind of debates get into.
I'm sure there's a lot of people all over America that have the same sentiment as 49er fans like us. I think you're a Niners fan, right? Are you a Niners fan?
I'm a Niners fan, but I really don't like Kyle Shanahan.
Okay, I hear you.
I'm a real big anti-Kyle Shanahan guy. I think he has an inability to take criticism and adjust.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people share this sentiment. It always seems that Mahomes gets every call goes his way, unfortunately. But going back to Diego Corrales, I live not too far from the cemetery. It's kind of on my things to do list that I'd like to pay homage to Diego Corrales' final resting place here in Las Vegas. He went on to fight and have incredible fights. Obviously, almost had a trilogy. One of the greatest 2 fights with Castillo, who I was so gracious enough or lucky enough. I was lucky enough to meet him this past year. Lukie, here's a picture of Castillo. I was blown away to see him with his child enjoying the fights. Oh, man, the fights that Corrales had with Castillo were simply phenomenal and almost had a trilogy. Unfortunately, Diego Corrales passed away. Was it in 2007 in a motorcycle crash at just the age of 29? 40 wins, 5 losses, guys. That's 24 years ago today in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. Hey, thanks for reliving that with me, Lukie. There's some big news, man. Talk to me about ProBox. You write for ProBox as well. ProBox, we got Najee Lopez this Friday on YouTube. If you guys, anybody could watch some free boxing, right? Here, I'm going to put up the graphic. It's fight week, right? Lopez Castillo?
It's a, look, yeah, I write for Box Scene and ProBox. But ProBox, I have no problems telling people that ProBox TV puts on my favorite cards. And before I even worked for ProBox or worked with ProBox, they put on my favorite cards. I was watching the shows on my, it's fun actually. I moved, right? And I'm sure you're like, what are we doing, Lukie? Why are you doing these stories? But sometimes you get me on the phone and I tell little stories here and there, and that's just what you have to settle with, okay? And I moved, and it's weird how when you change your life kind of moves organically with you if you make the right decisions. And I had not been watching like smart TVs. I was very analog until COVID. And I bought this beautiful 70-inch TV that I'm actually looking at watching MTV Classics right now. And I got YouTube on my TV, and it was a mind melter. And ProBox TV was one of the first things the algorithm showed me. It was one of their early cards. If we went back, we could see it. Najee Lopez was actually on this card. And I remember just being so fascinated and enjoying the card so much. So when I got the chance to work with them and write for them and be a part of what they're doing, what really meant a lot to me was I believed in what they were doing. So like I had already been a fan of what they were doing, and to actually be a part of it really meant a lot. And that's why I take this serious. Let's say I wake up tomorrow and I'm not with them, ProBox is still going to be my favorite cards. They make the best fights. Like, I'm just a fan of the product. And I want to reiterate that to people, how much, like, I just love the way Daniel Rubin, Chris Glover, of course, Gary Jonas, who runs the great company. I just like the way they put it together. It's just great fights for the fans.
Yeah, I hear you. We got a lot of people here that may not follow the sport religiously, and I appreciate all you guys because I know there's a lot of people in here who love a good chingazo, a good fight, but they don't watch it religiously, and that's why it's important. I'm being joined today, guys, by Lucas Cattell, staff writer for BoxingScene.com, and he also writes for, we just talked about ProBox. And guys, if you love YouTube, and I know so many of you guys love YouTube, but this is a great place. This is the only place, unlike watching Top Rank or watching Golden, well, you can maybe, but it's primarily the only place real boxing fans can get in there and chat with other boxing fans and sometimes get shit out of hand. I don't know if you noticed, Lukie, but they don't really have moderators on ProBox's YouTube channel.
Yeah, I don't open up the chats at all.
You can't.
So
You're like my
I don't
wife.
go into
My
the
wife
chat.
is like, turn that shit off. She's like, turn the damn chat off. You got some fucking idiots in the chat. That is hilarious, guys. If you guys want to watch ProBox on YouTube, it's fantastic. You can chat along or you can turn the chat off. But tell me a little bit about Najee Lopez, because I've been watching this Puerto Rican. Is he a light heavyweight now? And also, I know that he trains with Edgar Berlanga, right?
Yes, he trains with Mark Farrat, a really good trainer down in Florida. And it's gonna be something. And of course, my girlfriend's texting me while I'm on here, just like giving me anxiety about something I have to do earlier this week.
If you gotta go, you gotta
really
go.
Good man. No, not yet. But it's like he's really good and he's talented, and I don't know what to say. You know, he's a really good amateur. He's doing all the steps to be a great fighter, and he's passing the tests. He's passing all the tests that you want of a great fighter. You know how like people say like, oh, Abdullah Mason's not good because he got dropped. To me, Abdullah Mason's better because he got dropped, because we saw how he responds to it. Naji's been dropped. He's won a majority decision fight. He's really battle tested when a lot of prospects are given like really easy paths. So I think Naji's really proving that he's a guy. And Lennon Castillo is a real tough customer. You know, I know Callum Smith knocked him out bad, but Callum Smith just is a different fighter. Not in terms of Naji. I think they're similar, but Callum Smith has legitimate one-punch power.
Yeah,
And if
former
you're
world
not a
champion
top
too.
tier fighter, he knocks guys out that are that tier below the very best guys. So to me, I like the road Naji's taken, because he's taken hard fights, and he's really kind of taken an old school approach to it. And I like his demeanor. I think when he has a very mean demeanor in the ring, and he has a lot of skill, and he's a young guy, and he's working on using his talent to get the results that his meanness merits. And when he combines those two, man, the world's in trouble. I mean, I feel very comfortable saying him and Blast Val Saint, Darrell Val Saint are two future world champions that will be fighting on this card.
And you guys can watch that for free on ProBox this Friday, guys. You can put that shit on if you're live streaming, if you're whatever you're doing, just put it on one of your phone or your devices and watch that main event. It's going to be really good, and I believe that Najee Lopez is going to be a serious contender in any division. Shout out to Wiley Coyote. Appreciate you joining the chat. I'm not going to bury the lead anymore because I know you're on short time and it was unexpected you joining me. I thought I was going to roll solo, and I don't want to bury the lead, but we've got some exciting news. Lots of the younger fight fan, I guess Gen Z, they love Ryan Garcia. He went through some hell over the Haney fight where, you know, obviously he was suspended for illegal substances by the New York State Athletic Commission. And he's anxiously been awaiting a return. He was going to potentially do some kind of exhibition, and that just went by the wayside. And now we have official confirmation that Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia are set on a path to fight this fall in a rematch, much anticipated, possibly the biggest rematch of the year. Those two guys are going to be fighting on the same card. Here it is. Turki Al-Sheikh, the Ring Magazine, has announced that Ryan Garcia will be facing, and I talked about it last week. We didn't know. We heard Isaac Cruz was going to be the guy. It's Las Vegas's Rollie, Rolando Romero versus Ryan Garcia, two guys who know each other very well. At what weight class? Is this a catch weight or is this a full 147? Now they've both moved up. Lukie, what do you know about this fight?
Not much. I just know that Lance Pugmire just did a recent story. Everyone should go to boxingscene.com. He just caught up with Isaac Cruz and Cruz shared some comments, or his team shared some comments. And so here's another thing that I think people need to know about me. I might hear information from time to time, but I'm not a breaking news journalist per se. I may break news, but I'm more of a storyteller of fighters' lives. So I'm hearing the information with everyone else. You know, I sent Rollie a text tonight. Maybe I'll hear back from him. I hope to see Rick Marigian on Wednesday at the weigh-in for Jordan Fuentes. And, you know, beyond that, I don't know much.
Well,
you know, it's like,
I could just imagine Raleigh's phone is ringing. Get back. I know he watches the Shoe Shine. No, I'm just kidding. I know Rollie doesn't watch this show, but I'm hoping that he gets back to you as soon as possible. This is exciting news for him because him coming off that loss, right? Is he coming off a loss? The last fight I remember is against Esau Cruz and losing his title.
He beat Manuel Jaimez in the Stockton fighter on the Berlanga card.
Yeah, that's right. And I had high hopes
beat
for
him.
Yeah.
But Rollie's a very good fighter, you know, and he punches hard, and punching hard is a talent, and he's got more skill than people give him credit for. And I think because he used to So when he was younger and probably had less money or whatever, he was on the internet kind of trolling people. And I think that rubbed people some the wrong way. But now as he's gotten older, it's like he's kind of become more introverted and he's not out there as much. And I think he's a character. I think we need more people like Rollie in the sport, because it's like people can say, oh, he's not this, he's not that. But if he punches you, he's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great fight.
Really? Okay. Well, I'm glad you're advocating for it. Rolando Romero's absolutely is a character. I've been around him at fights. He's been very pleasurable and taking pictures with me and whatnot. But he did lose that fight against Isaac Cruz by knockout, and Isaac Cruz was reportedly the first person that was offered this fight. And it just sounds from what the rumor mill is and Twitter and whatnot that Isaac Cruz maybe had a disagreement about the catch weight. Isaac Cruz being a former 135-pound fighter, moving up to 140, winning that title, but then losing it to recently losing it, right, to someone we're going to see on the PBC card. Do you think that was actually going to be a competitive fight? Isaac Cruz, do you think Isaac Cruz would have been a tougher out for Ryan Garcia?
I don't I'm not the best guy to say this because I see every fight as a formidable fight. So it's like, everyone's like, Inoue's in an easy fight. Inoue's in an easy, Inoue has to fight a fight. And the fight he has to fight is a real fight. He's going in there with a guy who won the lottery and gets to fight him and shouldn't be fighting him. And those guys are often more dangerous than qualified opponents. So, when you say, so give me the exact verbiage. Did you say is Isaac Cruz a more dangerous opponent? Was that it? Was that what you said?
Yeah, even at the catch weight that was being rumored at 144 pounds. And I'm curious what the chat thinks. Do you guys in the chat think that Isaac Cruz was going to be a more dangerous opponent than Rolando Romero?
I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right? Cruz has a better proven track record at a higher level than Rollie. But Rollie beat Ryan up in sparring 2 times, and it's filmed and it's on YouTube.
Yes.
And that's damage Ryan has to go into the fight and battle through. So, I mean, I think in terms of professional boxing and achievement, Cruz is a difficult fight. But at the same time, the way Cruz fights, he has a style that works really well for Ryan Garcia, where he comes forward and he could get hit with a hook. That being said, he also is really good at coming forward and not getting hit, really good at putting pressure on people. For me, the most compelling thing is Rollie's beat up Ryan twice, and it kind of paralleled his rise to stardom. And sometimes, guys that have beaten a guy up, there's residual effects where that guy remembers that he beat him up. And it's not just where they're at in their careers. You're battling memories, you're battling ghosts of the past. So I think it's kind of difficult to explain it to the average fan, because they might just look at you and go, oh, well, he's not as accomplished as this guy. He doesn't win those big fights. But in the gym, Rollie's had success with him. It's, different, all things equal now. But I think it's a real fight because Rollie really thinks he has his number. And he had success with him sparring. And when was that? It was when that took place about when Munguia fought Liam Smith. And I do apologize for those of you that started watching when Mayweather fought McGregor, because that would have probably been right about when you started watching boxing. So it's obnoxious that I pointed that out. But, yeah, I think it's a real fight, man.
Let me ask you, was that sparring session, guys? If you guys want to go look for that tape, he's mentioned it. There's sparring footage leaked of
there's two tapes.
Two tapes of Rollie getting the best Getting the best of Ryan Garcia. And, Lukie is pointing out that basically, fighters have these memories, and sometimes these scars imprinted on your brain can give a certain fighter an edge, an advantage. And obviously, Rollie, you guys could see the tapes for yourself. And I'm just curious if that sparring footage was from TMT Gym.
Yeah, it was. It was. He sparred Rollie one time, and then they came back to spar Rollie again, and Rollie did it again.
For some of my people in the audience, I don't know, let me just double check how many people are watching. There's not too many people are watching now, but there is a Las Vegas streamer channel, not a fight channel, but somebody that I know who was thrown out of TMT for walking into TMT Gym to film Rollie, and Rollie was in preparation, I believe, for the Ismael Barroso's championship fight, and Rollie throws him right out of the fucking gym himself. For people that don't know, Lukie, can you just walk into somebody training for a championship fight and film them? I mean, there's protocols, guys. You just can't do that.
You certainly would hope not. But, I've seen it both ways, right? And I'm sure, you probably don't want this type of stuff for the podcast, but I think this might be the most fascinating insight I can give you while I go for a night walk, is not all world championship camps are run equally. And sometimes you'll just see training methods or even, what is that? I'm glad I'm walking right now. Sometimes you'll see training methods or people in the camp that are unprofessional. Many different things, right?
Yeah.
Guys with cameras filming sparring, and they're putting it on Instagram Live, but it's a world championship training camp. And you're like, wait, should be in-house. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I'd like to say that. I think that the more professional camps that are more grounded and have kind of what I call real guys, that's like a word I use. I call them real guys. And I say that to say, you like the Bobby Bentons, Aaron Navarro's, Mike Basil's, Stitch Duran. Can you think of like a guy that you really like a boxing guy? Like when you see him in the corner, that guy's a real guy, whether it's a cut man trainer, etc. And they're not going to let you do that stuff. But every now and then you get a world champion and you get Tom the streamer gets to walk in. So I would like to believe that most world champion camps, you can't just walk in and film the camp. But the game is changing, and a lot of people really like being famous.
Yeah.
So
tell me about it.
Because I've seen a lot of weird stuff, man, where it's like, I remember I won't say the name of this. I went to a world champions training camp. And they had an Instagram guy, and they were telling me how many followers he was. And they're doing stuff with him, taking away from their training to share it on social media. And I'm like, I think that it should be the other way around. I think you should be training. And he figures out a way to incorporate him into what you're doing. I don't understand why you're accommodating him. So, that was quite different.
Well, Lukie, before you get going on this same card, this is huge news because we got the return of Devin Haney. Devin Haney appears to have dropped his litigation lawsuit against Ryan Garcia for battery and whatnot, and he's going to be taking on Fresno's. And I love Jose Ramirez, man. A former unified 140-pound champion. He actually put out I think he put out an honest, good effort in his last fight. He did not get the nod. We've debated whether or not Jose Ramirez, a former champion from Fresno, born in Avino, if he's now kind of going into the fray, going into what we call gatekeeper status. But here he's going to get an opportunity to fight Devin Haney and show that he's still got it and he's still a formidable opponent. I don't even know, is this fight going to be at welterweight? Is Devin Haney now formally moving to welterweight, as is Jose Ramirez?
You're going to hate this answer so much that I give you. You're going to hate this answer so much. Until we see a press release, I don't answer this stuff.
Oh, shit. Well, I got to keep it formal. That's right, guys. I understand.
But do you get what I'm saying? Because it's like, we don't even know if this fight's real. And this is why I say you got to wait until a press release. And I know people don't like it when I say this, but you got to wait until there's a press release, because if you don't wait until there's a press release, here's the issue. Let's say I manage a fighter, which I don't. I'm a writer. I go to Shoe Shine. Hey, you got a big Instagram page. Hey, we're fighting this guy. It just goes out. And then you're like, we didn't tell anybody. And now all of a sudden everyone's acting about it and they're writing stories about it. And then you might go, hey, we'll do it at 143. Okay, well, the fight might be, you're negotiating a fight in public and putting pressure on people when the fight hasn't materialized. So what I say is, I don't know what's going on, but I try not to speak on things that aren't officially announced, because as the media or as a general person, you can get caught in the crossfire being used as a pawn as political warfare for the making of these fights. You know, your enthusiasm to see a great fight could be used against you, and it for someone else's advantage. Mm-hmm. So, you know, would I like to see the fight? Do I think Jose's turning into a gatekeeper? I don't know. I mean, I think Jose has a real chance against Devin. I think they both have a chance. They have a history. They sparred each other at Wild Card back in the day. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good check for both guys. But who even knows if it's going to happen? Who knows what the weight would be? You need specifics, right? And you need people that are willing to go on the record. Where's Rick Morigian going on the record? Where's Bill Haney? Like, these are people that like to talk. So until those guys go on the record, you know, I'm not going to fully commit my life to it. I'll just say that.
All right. Hey, guys, for those of you just joining us, we're on the phone here with Lukie Boxing of Boxing CNN and Pro Box. The big news revealed is that Turki Al-Sheikh is putting together this card for May. And as someone who lives in Las Vegas now, Lukie, I'm anxiously awaiting a formal press release, as you say, to find out, is this fight going to be, what I'm hearing a rumor, potentially Friday, the night before the big Canelo Alvarez fight? Or is Canelo Alvarez signing and inking a deal, which we've seen him with Turki Al-Sheikh, we've seen him on the phone, there's pictures of him in conference calls with Terrence Bud Crawford. Is this going to be, as one person has put out, possibly the undercard to the next Canelo Alvarez fight here in Las Vegas for Cinco de Mayo weekend? Or is this thing going to be its own thing? It says Fatal Fury associated with a video game release. This is new. This is interesting. And shout out to Mo Boxing No Problem on YouTube for this wonderful graphic. Golden Boy working with PBC and Boxer and Top Rank to put together just this card alone. Efe Agaba, Martin Bacoli, we just saw handle Jared Anderson in Los Angeles. This in itself is a great fight, but I don't know. Lukie doesn't know. They're just saying it's going to be May. Could be New York City. Could be in Nevada, which I would love that. But you haven't heard anything yet, huh? Lukie, you can't give us any exclusives yet, right?
I mean, unfortunately, this isn't a Wednesday show. It's a Monday show. Right. On Wednesday, I might be around some of these people. And then, you know, if they tell me something, I could tell it to you. Or I could hand the phone to them and just say, hey, what's going on? The Shoe Shine podcast and their amazing listenership want to hear about it. But I also have to explain to you, I'm not like an investigative journalist.
Yeah, I hear you.
So it's like, this is not like the stuff that, like, I feel like I'm the undercard guy. So it's like, I'm, you know, I know about as much as you guys know. And if I know any more, then it'll be on Boxing Scene.
Lukie, do you still have a few more minutes, or you got to go?
Of course. I literally have nothing to do.
Okay, well, let's talk about
play some PGA Tour 2K23.
So this is being okay. Two fighters that have been accused a lot lately of duck season, as you guys know. Jaron Boots Ennis, the fight with Virgil Ortiz, a potential super fight with Virgil Ortiz, fell apart, and many people accused Boots Ennis of being a duck in that situation. He said that he didn't know what weight class. He didn't talk to his management. But finally, we seem to have some good news that might be revealed this Friday. What I'm hearing is that there is a press conference slated for Friday, and they could be officially announcing a unification fight at welterweight between Jerome Boots Ennis and Imantistani Onis, a fantastic boxer, also a world champion. Potentially this Friday, we will hear news, and I imagine Matchroom Boxing is probably going to do this Friday after or before the weigh-in. But are you excited? I mean, the welterweight division is a division where there's some great talent, but they haven't gotten around to fight each other. Is this a step in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great fighter. So when you can get great fighters in the ring with other great fighters, that's all we want, right? And it's kind of a logical fight because Boots has just not really been active. And when he's active, he's not taking fights that get us interested. And Stanionis hasn't fought in a long time. So it's a good matchup because it's a good reintroduction to two really exciting fighters. If that fight were to happen, I like it. I think we need to get meaningful matchups. And this year we've been lucky, Diego Pacheco, Steven Nelson, that fight matters. Morel Benavidez, that fight matters. So we're starting out with some meaningful fights, and as long as we have fights with meaning, then everything's okay.
Yeah, and those are two back-to-back exciting fights. I want to get to that. As I mentioned, guys, I will be there Saturday in attendance to watch Diego Pacheco. Where's my homeboy from the 619 from San Diego, Fonzie? He'll be there with his gang. We'll all be going there, and I'm waiting to hear this news on Boots Ennis, Philadelphia fighter. My boy Drew here, he roots for all the Philly fighters and, of course, the Eagles. So we're anxiously awaiting that news. Now, I just had a picture of Teofimo Lopez. He's had these contractual issues. We've seen fighters with contractual issues at Top Rank. You guys could famously remember Mikey Garcia sat out nearly 2 years with issues with Top Rank. I put that picture up in light heart, but he did not, Bob said that the Matias fight was more money than he was ever going to make, and he rejected that offer. But today, this is big news to me, Lukie. He's changing management team. A manager, do you have can shed some light on the managers? Because I know, from what I understand, he's Richard Hitchison's, the newest 140-pound champion's management team as well. And this could potentially point in the direction that Teo is going to be fighting Richard Hitchison, that could be the big news. Your thoughts on that?
Wait. I understood every word you said, but I need you to confirm who has a new manager?
Teofimo Lopez. Today, was it Connolly?
Who's his new manager?
Connolly?
I haven't heard a thing about that, but that's interesting if that's true, but I haven't heard about that. I have heard there's rumors of Teofimo versus Hitchinson, but Teofimo's so my favorite author is Cromac McCarthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really like reading his book, No Country for Old Men. Part of what I love about his books are the narrator is unreliable. I like a good male, unreliable narrator, and I feel like Teofimo gets on these interviews and he's trying to be sincere, but there's a level of he's speaking with passion, right? And passion's unreliable. So he says things, and it seems like they're pursuing a Hitchinson fight, but I just don't know, man. I hope we can see him back in action sooner rather than later. It just feels like a lot of obligations.
I agree.
It's
been a long time.
Very difficult to get him. Well, it just seems very hard for a young, talented fighter to get back in the ring. It seems like he's unhappy with his situation with his current promoter. But I feel like the way he's going about it doesn't help with that, right? Mm-hmm. There's always ways to fix things, and it seems like he's kind of going about it in a way that might just accentuate differences between the two. So I've heard that rumor. I have no clue if they're close.
Yeah, well, it seems official. Those pictures are posted. He has a new management deal, and if it, like I said, if it means that he's this step closer to fighting an actual world champion in the 140 pound division, then all of this accusation of duck season and whatnot, hey, I'm willing to let that all go. Matias is no longer a champion, and Richard Hitchison is the newest addition to the 140 pound world champion list. I'm all for it. Tio, you need to get back in the ring and make some news. He made a lot of news this week for the Ring Awards and whatnot. I'm excited to hear what is going to come about that. Let's get a quick preview, guys, before we go away. I will be there Saturday in person to check out Diego Pacheco, a 168-pound behemoth. He's tall, he's lanky, he's got all these natural gifts. He's going to be fighting Steven Nelson, right? And it's as well as we're going to see Andy Cruz, the Cuban gold medalist, on the card. Let me get this graphic up. I'm excited. I'll tell you why, Lukie. Since I've moved to Las Vegas, all the January fight cards I go to, it seems like a lot of the local fighters, a lot of the champions, literally. I mean, Teofimo was at the Golden Boy card last Jan. You'll see everybody there. I'm excited to see who shows up. Pacheco versus Nelson, both undefeated. Pacheco was supposed to be in line to fight Christian and Billy for some type of, title eliminator or something, but that things didn't pan out this way. What does Diego Pacheco need to do? And is he in for a real threat to possibly lose this? How would you have this fight? What's your insight? Is this a 50-50 fight?
I mean, I slightly favor Pacheco because he's the younger guy. He's the more active guy, but Steve Nelson is a real fighter. He's a real guy, good counterpuncher, smart fighter. And he's a tricky opponent. And I think this is like a 52-48 type fight. And the winner of this fight should definitely be in the running to get a world title fight.
I agree. And let me just remind everybody who might be listening. I'm sorry, but Diego Pacheco, he's a South Central guy, right? South Central California?
He is, but he trains with the Benavidez family. So it's kind of wherever the Benavidez crew is taking up residence and training. So I believe he's at a boxing gym in Las Vegas currently, finishing up camp, but he's originally from South Central Los Angeles.
Yeah, and you mentioned the big guy, the big threat, former world champion, WBC champion, David Benavidez. That's his sparring partner. What better opponent, what better guy to be a sparring partner with, man, in preparation to potentially one day get an opportunity to fight the not only unified champion, but potentially, undisputed champion again in Canelo Alvarez. Is that fight, you think, something that's possible someday? Diego Pacheco being a real opponent for Canelo Alvarez if Canelo Alvarez hangs around the division long enough?
I don't know. I see Canelo as just like a retired fighter, basically. Like, he's not showing a willingness to want to really take on the young and up and comers. It's more like profitable fighters that are ticket sellers. So I think Diego's in the era when Canelo decides that he doesn't want to take a title defense against this guy or that guy. I mean, if Diego wins, there's a chance I could put Canelo as the most interesting opponent for Diego Pacheco in the future, because it would be the first real young fighter facing kind of the elder statesman Canelo. And that would be an interesting circumstance. But I don't see Canelo kind of giving young fighters that opportunity.
Yeah, we haven't seen any indication other than the recent, with Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia having taken a huge step back in the upset of the year of 2024. But here's the tale of the tape, guys. Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, reportedly the big deal soon to be potentially be inked. But then again, today I was seeing something, Lukie, where Canelo was saying that the only conversations that Terrence, Turkey Al-Sheikh, and them have had is revolving this video game, and that they've got a friendly wager where the loser has to take the other person out to dinner. So I don't know. I think that's all cap. I think something is being negotiated, but I like the fact that at least all three of them are in the same room speaking. So it seems like potentially we could be having this fight this year. And if that is the case, Lukie, and who does Canelo fight in May? You know, will it be William Skull to regain that one missing title in his collection to become undisputed again?
I mean, my question to you is, are we sure he fights in May?
He
Like, if
has
he's
to.
fighting in September and there's a lot of money, like, he might not fight in May.
William
Like,
Skull
maybe
is,
he
you know,
will,
William
but,
Skull.
like, I don't know.
Of course he has to fight. And William Skull is the perfect opponent, the perfect non-threat. And I've been advocating on my platform, Lukie, that for me, if Crawford really I know he's probably going to start preparing to spar bigger guys. And maybe I've heard that he might even take on a 168-pound opponent in May or sometime before the Canelo fight. I think that Bud Crawford needs to fight 160-pound champion, 40-year-old plus, Erislandy Lara for the WBC championship. I think why not add another, trophy to your collection, something that I think is 37-year-old Bud Crawford, I think, beats easily an Erislandy Lara. In fact, Erislandy Lara just had a catchweight fight at like 157 for his title against Philadelphia fighter in Danny Garcia. So I think it's very makeable, something that is a good stepping stone, and potentially he could add another title for this promotion in September. He could say, look, 135-pound champion, undisputed 140, undisputed 147, 154-pound champion, 160-pound champion, and now I'm coming for all your belts, Canelo, because they really are going to need to sell this fight, or the fight might just sell itself. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I'm kind of I'm the difference between you. I think Lara's a really hard fight for anybody still. I think that if Crawford went up there, like, Lara's probably the most underrated boxer currently. Like, he doesn't have his legs, but he hits really hard and he's really smart. That's not an easy, fun fight. And there's a reason why none of these title holders are like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go after Lara. Like, he's like 40 some odd years old and no one's really calling him out, and he's fighting once a year, and he'll probably fight till he's 50 and hold a belt till he's 50 because he's going to fight once a year and he stops guys in 3 rounds.
He'll be the next Bernard Hopkins.
William Skull, I honestly think if they would take a bet, I would bet a good chunk of money that Lara is going to be the oldest world champion before it's all said and done.
Wow.
I think he is, but that's just a hot take. William Skull, I think, genuinely could beat Canelo at this point. I don't think Canelo is the same guy anymore. So I think that if they do the William Skull fight, you run the risk of a split decision or a majority decision, or even William Skull outright beating Canelo.
Wow.
I just don't think Canelo is mentally focused anymore to fight serious title holders anymore.
So are you thinking that Canelo's entered that phase where it's almost like a celebrity box? He's a celebrity boxer in the vein of Misfits boxing.
He does attraction fights. He's no longer going after guys who are in their prime or super relevant. It's now attraction bouts. He's not, and I guess not necessarily in their prime or relevant. It's more so like he's not after guys that are like, here's Christian Mbili, he's the number 1 rated guy. I just don't think he's in the business of being like, you know what, he did it with Liam Smith, he did it with Callum Smith, he made these guys that no one were really that interested in seeing him fight. And it's like, after the fight, it's like they fought Canelo, and people are like, wow, that's a big name guy. I think at this point, he's just tired of making guys that wouldn't have a big name a bigger name. So I think he's only going to take on guys that have an attraction marquee. And I think he's a 20-year professional who kind of looks like he's a 20-year professional who's fighting a little tired. He's looking a little older in there, and he doesn't want to fight younger guys who are going to push him the same way. So that's kind of what I see.
Hey, Lukie, it's been great chatting with you on the phone. I just want to give you a plug. Inside the Ropes of Boxing is still available on Amazon. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
There you go, guys. Inside the Ropes of Boxing, my boy Lucas Cattell. You can get that on Amazon. He also has his own boxing podcast.
Before I get out,
yeah,
I got a boxing podcast. Just figure out how to find it and stuff if you want to listen. should I book 1 or 2 nights at a hotel for my stay? Chat, you decide. Am I staying 1 night or 2 nights in LA? I want the chat to decide this for me because I got to book that tonight and I can't decide on my own. So before I leave, screw my podcast, screw buying the book, interact with the show, hit the subscribe button, thumbs up, comments, all that stuff, and leave in there if I should do 1 or 2 nights. It's been a privilege. Thank you.
Hey, Lukie, I appreciate it. Again, you guys follow my boy Lukie Boxing. Put it in the chat. Should he stay 2 nights or 1 night in LA? I appreciate you, Lukie. We'll talk soon, buddy. That was my boy Lukie Boxing, guys. Really fun talking to him. He is a writer on BoxingScene.com. Love to have his opinions. And like he said, he's not a breaking news guy. He's not chasing fake stories or anything. He reports the actual facts. I like to venture into, conjecture and whatnot, speculation and whatnot. And I can because I'm just a podcaster, guys. But listen, Drew Evo and I will be back for NFL talk this week, later on this week, Wednesday or Thursday. We're going to do a roundup of all the great 6 games that just had and look at the AFC and NFC championship, as well as tons of more boxing news. Like I said, I didn't even get to half the boxing story, so we're going to do a combination show, Shoeshine Sports, later this Wednesday or Thursday. I appreciate everybody that checked it out. Lots of more news, guys. Again, the big news, guys, is Ryan Garcia is back for May against Rolando Romero of Las Vegas. How long will this fight go? I mean, like Lukie said, Rollie's rocked Ryan Garcia in the gym and sparring. The tapes are out there. You could watch that. He's going to have a confidence that he can knock out Ryan. And of course, Ryan's coming off high confidence that he can knock out anybody in his division, anybody in his weight class. Big news. Haney will be on the same card. We got Inoue this week, guys. Inoue, if you're a hardcore boxing fight fan, on Friday out of Japan, somewhere like at 3 a.m. on ESPN Plus, you can watch Inoue on Friday. We'll talk more about that later with Drew. It's Inoue Fight Week, pound for pound fighter champion. We'll be back, man. I appreciate everybody that was here with me. A quiet show today, but I appreciate and love all you guys. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think of today's show. And I'll see you on Wednesday or Thursday. So make sure you hit that notification or check that we'll be back with Drew Evo. Shout out to all the Eagles fans. Until then, peace out, everybody.